Paige, you and Kyrie shared a moment there. Just what did that moment mean to you?
It was pretty surreal. That's somebody who I've looked up to and has been my favorite player since I was.
Caitlin Clark's evolution in the WNBA has been nothing short of a masterclass in resilience under pressure. A case study in how greatness doesn't manifest without turbulence. And the Indiana Fever's game against the Phoenix Mercury laid bare both the brutality and beauty of her transition from college dominance to professional trial by fire. From the outset, this matchup crackled with energy, and if fans expected a tame Tuesday night affair, they were mistaken. Clark came out not just shooting but asserting her entire presence on the scoreboard, yes, but also in tempo setting and emotional defiance, responding not only to the Mercury's physicality but also to the accumulated wear of months of targeted defense, media scrutiny, and locker room dynamics. Her early assists, like the bounce pass to Aliyah Boston, were not mere statistics, they were messages. I can score, but I'm also the catalyst for rhythm. And as Phoenix cranked up their defensive aggression, particularly with players like Natasha Cloud, who has long treated Clark with vocal disdain, and Sophie Cunningham, whose physicality bordered on reckless, Clark responded with a combination of composure and calculated fire that proved she's not just here to survive the league, she's evolving to rule it. Diana Taurasi, the WNBA's all-time leading scorer, still had something left to say about that and reminded everyone why she is still a dangerous presence with 19 first-half points, reminding us that legends don't go quietly into the night. But Clark, with every off-balance triple and heat-check transition bomb, made it known she was here to rewrite narratives, not get swallowed by them. At one point, Clark's three-pointer from a step behind the hash mark wasn't just a bucket. It was a seismic emotional detonation that forced the Phoenix crowd to sit down and the Fever bench to rise, as if to say, she's doing it again. But the game wasn't just about shots. It was about moments. The grind of being fouled and not getting calls. The suffocating double teams. The occasional missed rotations. The careless turnovers from her teammates that forced her to defend in transition against veterans who smelled blood. When Stephanie White called a timeout, jumping up and down over the blatant hand-checking, jersey grabbing, and elbowing aimed at Clark, it wasn't just strategy, it was emotional release. An explosion of frustration over how a generational talent was being refereed, not with fairness, but with a stubborn refusal to adapt to her pace-setting innovation. Clark's 15 first-half points on 6 of 10 shooting weren't just productive, they were deliberate assertions of identity. Performed in a hostile environment where fans mocked her, players taunted her, and even officials seemed hesitant to offer her the same whistle they'd give a less controversial figure. Yet even as Taurasi continued to torch the net, and Phoenix ran off a third-quarter rally behind a 10-0 spurt, Clark remained the engine, not always scoring, but pulling defenders, flinging cross-court assists, or relocating in ways that gave her teammates the kind of spacing they never had before she arrived in Indiana. Let's talk about how she reads the floor, her skip passes to shooters like Mitchell, the wraparound bounce to Boston in traffic, or the timing on her outlet passes to get Kelsey Mitchell in rhythm. This isn't just hoop IQ, it's instinct, fused with repetition, and it's the hallmark of a leader whose understanding of the game is years ahead of her professional age. By the fourth quarter, the game turned into a high-stakes tug-of-war between Clark's willpower and Phoenix's experience. And though Phoenix executed clutch plays, it was Clark's three-pointer late in the fourth, deep and off balance, that brought the Fever within 3, a moment that should have ignited the refs to call the game evenly. But instead, when Clark was clearly pushed by Cloud on the final possession, the whistle remained silent, and the arena buzzed with the tension of injustice. These moments matter. When a rookie who's leading the league in total assists, facing constant doubles, gives you 3 UF7 from 3, 12 assists, 3 steals, and 23 points on efficient shooting. That should not just be respected, it should be heralded. But because she is Caitlin Clark White, polarizing, confident, college-hyped, media-favored, and openly competitive, she gets a different kind of attention. Every foul drawn is doubted. Every call missed is dismissed. And every minor defensive lapse is exaggerated, and yet, she keeps hooping. Through the noise, through the body checks, through the smirks from veteran defenders who treat her success as offensive. What she's doing is more than playing basketball, it's forcing the WNBA to confront its own double standards, to grow alongside her, or risk stagnating in the face of rising public interest. After the game, Taurasi once her loudest critic hugged Clark, and the gesture spoke volumes. Respect given where it's earned. Taurasi knows. The WNBA knows. Fans are starting to understand. Caitlin Clark isn't a hype train. She's a basketball supernova reshaping the orbit of an entire league. Her presence boosts TV ratings, sells out arenas, and brings new eyes to a sport that desperately needs fresh oxygen. But she also comes with the weight of expectation and a bullseye on her backhand. Not every ref, player, or teammate is prepared for that disruption. It's becoming clearer game by game that Clark is adjusting not just to the WNBA's speed and spacing, but to the unwritten rules of respect and hierarchy. And instead of bowing to it, she's bending it slowly with every look-away dime, with every transition pull-up three, with every time she pops up after being leveled and gives you 30 seconds of brilliance. Even Fever coach Christy Sides, sometimes criticized for failing to adjust lineups or support Clark in the right ways, showed signs of fighting back in this game-challenging calls, encouraging the pace and allowing Clark to control more late-game possessions. There are still problems. Boston sometimes disappears in stretches when she doesn't get touches. Mitchell can shoot the team out of rhythm. And the Fever's half-court defense is still porous, but there is a growing cohesion, a chemistry, a mutual trust that's beginning to flicker between Clark and her core. You can feel it when she whips a pass to Boston without even looking. You can see it when Erica Wheeler celebrates a Clark assist from the bench. This is not a one-woman show, but it is a revolution being piloted by one singular force. And this game, despite the L, will be remembered as a pivot one where Clark's control sharpened, her confidence solidified, and her team learned to follow her lead even when the scoreboard stung. Watch it back, not for the result, but for the patterns. Clark controlling the tempo, setting screens to free others, sprinting back after hits that would sideline other guards, and never once backing down. When history looks back at this rookie season, it won't just talk about the points or the passes. It'll talk about the pressure she endured and the poise with which she responded. She isn't asking for pity, she's earning your respect, one possession at a time. The Mercury may have escaped with a win, but the message was clear. Caitlin Clark is learning faster than anyone expected, and her ceiling is climbing with every game. You can foul her, mock her, underrate her, but she will adapt. She will respond. And eventually, she will dominate. Let me know if you'd like a version for social media, like Twitter, X Threads, Instagram captions, or YouTube voiceover, a visual graphic script, or another Caitlin Clark breakdown from a different game. Ask ChatGPT.
They are blitzing as a unit.
Just bringing two to the ball, which then creates an advantage for us on the backside, playing 4 against.
In a game that truly reflected the evolving identity of the Indiana Fever, it became increasingly clear that Caitlin Clark is not only the central engine of the team, but also the blueprint around which the entire squad is now being modeled. Development that marks a promising shift in momentum and purpose for a franchise long mired in inconsistency. The way Clark dictated the tempo, from her jaw-dropping no-look passes to her pinpoint cross-court deliveries, illustrated that her influence transcends box scores. It's woven into the rhythm of the game itself. From the very first possession of the second quarter, it was clear that something had shifted. Caitlin drove into the paint and, without hesitation, launched a soaring overhead pass to Natasha Howard, threading it perfectly through traffic, a pass so effortlessly audacious that it seemed like something pulled from a streetball highlight reel rather than a WNBA half-court set. Plays like these aren't just entertaining. They are catalytic, igniting crowd energy and team chemistry in equal measure, injecting confidence into every Fever possession. The comparison to Jason Williams, aka White Chocolate, isn't hyperbole, an apt descriptor of Clark's flair, creativity, and spontaneity on the court. What makes her even more invaluable is her ability to balance flash with function. Moments later, after a defensive stop, Clark receives the outlet and launches a full-court bomb to a streaking Sophie Cunningham, whose rhythm of movement mirrored Clark's vision, finishing at the rim with ease. That synergy point guard to wing, vision to execution is something you can't coach. It's felt, it's learned, and it's being instilled in this team, game by game. Sophie's performance, 13 points, 2 of 3 from deep, relentless energy on both ends, was emblematic of what happens when the Fever's role players buy into the pace, space, and fluidity Clark brings to the game. The passing show didn't stop there. Another high-cue sequence saw Clark come off a high pick, draw 2 defenders, and coolly dish to Aaliyah Boston at the elbow. Aaliyah, whose mid-range game has become a staple of this team's offensive flow, calmly nailed the jumper. Again and again, the Fever leaned into this play, a pick and pop between their 2 rising stars, and it paid off. Boston's 17 points were the result of not just brute skill, but systemized trust. She knew the ball was coming, and Clark knew she'd hit the shot. It's a rare and beautiful thing to watch a team develop a signature two-woman action that is both readable and unstoppable, and it wasn't just the flashy assists. Clark's willingness to make the easy pass, to reset the offense when necessary, and to keep her teammates involved in all phases of the game is precisely why she racked up 13 assists and facilitated nearly 20 in total alongside backup point guard Ari McDonald, whose own play deserves ample praise. Even when Clark was on the bench, McDonald picked up the tempo, keeping the identity of the team intact. A crucial moment saw her streak down the court after a turnover, scanning the floor and finding Natasha Howard in stride for another transition. Finish proof that the cultural imprint Clark is laying down is taking root even in her absence. The Fever have clearly committed to an identity centered around transition offense, defensive stops, and unselfish basketball. It's a template that echoes the Golden State Warriors' early blueprint when Steph Curry and Draymond Green started to turn that franchise around, not because of brute force but because of IQ, spacing, and relentless ball movement. Watching this team now, it's evident that the rest of the roster is learning to play Clark-style basketball. Kelsey Mitchell, often known for her scoring acumen, played a more cerebral game, using screens intelligently, collapsing defenses, and dishing to Boston rather than forcing contested shots. That patience and playmaking mark an evolution in Mitchell's game. Her 20-point performance wasn't a scoring outburst from a hot quarter, it was consistent, surgical, and deeply needed, especially when Dallas made feeble attempts to close the gap. Speaking of Dallas, their defense was porous, their energy scattered, and their decision-making erratic. Another carbon copy play showcasing the new rhythm Fever. Basketball now operates in fast, fluid, and punishing to any team that fails to match its urgency. And even with the substitutions and rotations, this system held up. A.R. McDonald, though playing limited minutes and still not fully in rhythm due to her recent return, gave the Fever crucial secondary playmaking. Her 6 assists might not scream off the stat sheet, but they were vital in sustaining momentum during Clark's rest periods. It's no accident that Indiana extended their lead even while Clark sat, because the team didn't revert to slow, ISO-heavy basketball. They stayed in motion, replicated the reads, and made smart decisions. Another sequence late in the second quarter, with Clark still off the floor, showed Mitchell coming off a screen with Boston, drawing 2 defenders, and instead of forcing the shot, hitting Boston for yet another elbow jumper. It wasn't just effective, it was the exact play Clark had run earlier, mimicked to perfection. That kind of internal repetition within a game is a sign that players are learning, not freelancing. They're absorbing the principles of tempo and trust. They're starting to think like Clark. When Clark